Hello and welcome back to number 3 in our Ultra X Instagram live series that we have started, you guessed it, 3 weeks ago. So today we are joined by Chris. I'm going to wait for a few of you guys to come on and then Chris will introduce himself. But today we're going to be talking a little bit about the World Championships, which is a new race that we are launching next year. It is very, very exciting. It's like nothing we have ever done before. So really excited to tell you guys about it. And Chris is going to be giving you the lowdown and especially touching on the fact that anyone can apply for this race to race against some of the best athletes in the world, which is incredibly exciting. So now we have a few of you guys on board. Just also a quick one to let you know, this will be saved and will be available for you guys to rewatch at a later date if you're not able to stay for the whole thing now, so do not panic on that. So, over to you. Tell us who you are, what you do.
Well, firstly, thanks for having me. I'm genuinely quite shocked. The third ever guest, and they've gone in-house.
We have indeed.
They had the whole ultra running world at our feet, and they said, there's no one better than the man sat opposite you.
That is pretty much how it happened. We heard about your success in Jordan, and we just thought, you know, who else is better at sharing the Ultra X message and, you know, being able to talk about what is set to be the biggest race in the ultra world.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing your side of the desk with me. I've always wondered what the view was like from this side of the desk.
It's good, eh? It's quite blue.
You've got the map. There's a map of the world we have. You might have seen it at the National Running Show if you came and saw us there, with pins in it, with the race locations. Arguably, I should be looking at this map.
Really.
This is much better than my view.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. I've got the caps. I've got a random fan, and all of your food, which is...
And all of my food. We should switch after this video. Anyway, so hey guys, I'm Chris. As Hannah said, I'm the operations manager for Ultra X. I've been with Ultra X since September last year, and I kind of like to think of myself as a proof of concept for the Ultra X model, because I very much came to this company as a groupie, which I'm hoping all of you guys are as well.
As did I.
As did you, yeah. They've got just hook you in and you can never leave. You end up working for them. We are paid, don't worry, not volunteer on. I'm kind of a sport and exercise background, so I did a degree in sport and exercise science. I then took some time out and spent some time in the military. I was never a runner. I always hated running until I joined the Marines. And then you kind of don't really have a choice. And when I left the military, I thought, by default, okay at this running malarkey, I'll give it a bit more of a go, and then ended up loving it, and now I don't do anything but run and talk about it. So Ultra X came on my radar, it would have been the end of 2018, and I kind of just got so obsessed with them that my partner just said, look, you've got to apply for a job now, so I'm sick of hearing about them.
I have heard the story, to be fair.
So I joined in September last year, so it's nearly a year now, which is crazy, and I do the operations, so that involves mainly kind of new races or ongoing races, any logistical elements that we have to all events. That's also UK events, not necessarily just our international races. And I also happen to be the least worst person when it comes to design and stuff, so I get kind of lumped with the website stuff. So I'm to blame if you think any of our PDFs or website looks horrible. That's kind of what I do.
I disagree. I think they look great. Well, thank you so much for sharing us a bit more about what you do. So, before we go straight into the World Champs, when you are looking at a location or planning a route, what are, let's say, the top 3 things that you look for?
Top 3. Number 1, definitely, it's an obvious one, it has to be the kind of wow factor. It's got to be somewhere that you might think you never would go to for any other reason, or it's been on your bucket list, or something you've seen on a website bucket list. It has to have an element of that is somewhere I really want to go to. So that's number 1. And I should say these rules are they're a bit like the iRobot rules. Like they kind of work in with each other. So you can't just go, right, this place is going to be absolutely amazing, we're going to go there. Because the second rule I'd say is probably it has to be accessible. And people. Accessible is a tricky word. It does mean different things. The tendency, I think, is to just assume we're saying, they're the cheapest races in the space. But they are very affordable. That's something we pride ourselves on. But accessibility isn't just cost. If you put a race on in the French Polynesia, even if it's the cheapest race in the world, it's pretty hard to get to the French Polynesia.
As much as we would like to.
Indeed. So it's not. You can't just point on a map and say this place is awesome. Let's do a race there. It does take a little bit of planning. So I'd say accessibility in terms of the country, but then a bit of a cop-out, but I am the organiser, so this is what I would go for, is the accessibility once you're in country.
Sure.
Again, I think it's pretty easy to say, we do a race in Madagascar. That's, fairly accessible. If you, wherever you live in the world, it's kind of down the middle, halfway. But then some races you'll get to the country and then, I don't know, you might have to board a 6, 7, 8 hour coach down to the start line. And I should say, there's a little bit of flexibility within them. If you have the dream race and it's 6 hours away, which some of ours are, then you have to compromise. But the ideal is to try and find somewhere and you quickly whittle down the places where you can actually do this. It's accessible, this has the wow factor, that isn't going to take people 4.5 days to fly into and fly out of. And that's the challenge, really.
I guess it is just about producing that ultimate experience, and obviously the experience comes with beautiful places, but also if someone's got to spend 9 hours in the back of a coach, then they're not going to be super psyched by the time they get there, and especially not on the way out.
It does dilute the experience, for sure.
And the big question, did you find, I'm assuming yes, but did you find all of these 3 things in Slovenia, which is our World Champs location?
Yeah, so Slovenia, definitely. First off, the wow factor, and we'll talk more about the route in later on. But it's absolutely amazing. It kind of, accessibility wise, it sits right on the race is actually right on the northeastern Italian border. So it's Europe, but it's slightly further to the Eastern Europe, so the Middle Eastern market can easily access it. It's not far from America. If you're in Australia, apologies, I can see Jackie's there. Hey Jackie. It's a little bit longer to get to, but you're in the southern hemisphere, everything takes time to get to. But Slovenia is quite a central location. It's easy to get into the country from anywhere, but also when you're in country, the race starts in a town called Ajdovskina, which is, sorry if there's any Slovenians there. But it's about an hour from Ljubljana airport, which is the capital of Slovenia. And it's even less, I think, from Trieste airport in Italy. It's about half an hour, so you can cross the border. So we found the wow factor, and we're like, yes, we need to do a race here. We then obviously looked at the accessibility, and it ticks all the boxes.
Great. And I think we've kind of covered a little bit why Slovenia, and we'll obviously get to more of that as we get a little bit further.
One last thing I have to say, why Slovenia? So we actually didn't look necessarily saying, right, we need a World Champs course now, let's look for somewhere. Actually, we Slovenia was on the back burner for a while, and we said, we want to do a race here, this is amazing. And the more we planned, and when we came up with the course, each kind of element just went, this is going to be a really cool race. And then it was, we, as you may know, launched our sustainability policy fairly recently. Yeah. And the race was looking like it was going to be quite special. And then we found out that Slovenia is the most sustainable, I think it was voted the most sustainable country in the world a couple of years ago. And for us, that was kind of like a big green tick. We thought, right, this has got, not only is it an amazing race, it works with the story of Ultra X. We really want to promote sustainability. And what better country to do that alongside than Slovenia? So it kind of grew from the ground up. We didn't actually hunt for a World Champs, the course, which is great because the course itself just kind of sold itself as a...
Slovenia came to us, So
indeed.
Success around. Also, I've seen there's a few questions coming in. We will get to answering those at the end, but we're just going to try and rattle through all the bits we want to cover so that we can give you guys the ultimate roundup of what is set to be the biggest and best ultramarathon race in the world, we think. So tell us a little bit about how the race will work. Obviously, we know it's over 5 days. We know it's 250k. What can we expect from it? Yeah, so this race, all Ultra X 250 kilometre races, the race week is Monday to Friday. What's a bit different about the World Championships, well, quite a lot different, is this is more of a trail running festival. So the weekend there'll be a race expo. So how it will work in terms of itinerary is most runners will arrive either on Friday or Saturday. The race expo will take place over Saturday and Sunday, and that will be in the first race village in Ajdovskina. So people will fly into Ljubljana or Trieste. It's an hour's journey down to Ajdovskina. It's a kind of a village / town. There's lots of places to stay. The Race Village Expo will take place both days, so that will have international and national exhibitors, all your kind of expected nutrition, performance stands that you might see in other events, and then all of our partners will be there as well. And then the race is a 5-day race, so the first 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, start and finish in Race Village 1, which is Ajdovskina. So we're kind of doing a southern loop around the Vipava Valley, which is where Ajdovskina is, and then the second day is a northern loop. So it's 43k day 1, so just over a marathon, 50k day 2, so a little bit longer than a marathon.
And then the whole circus picks up and moves to Race Village 2 on Wednesday. So Wednesday for the runners is the long stage, which is 63 kilometres. And they're running from Ashdovskina to Tolmin. And Wednesday is also the very long day for the organisers, because we have to move this whole circus from Ashdovskina to Tolmin, which is about 60k. Yeah, I mean, the front runners, we're going to be up against it. We're going to be up against it. No, it will work.
We're talking to you, Mark Pert.
We'll see. And then the final 2 days start and finish in the second race village, which is Tolmin, which is in the Socha Valley. So day 4 is 55 kilometres, and day 5, the final day, is a slightly shorter sprint stage, which is 40 kilometres, and that explores the Socha Valley, which is famous for the river Socha. It's an emerald green river. It's amazing, and then it kind of skirts around the southern edge of the Julian Alps. So yeah, there's some pretty tough hills in the last 2 days, and then I should say the expo continues on for the final weekend. There should be a pretty good party at the end.
I was going to say there'll be a lot more booze in the second half than the first half.
Well, we'll see. Depends who's commiserating or celebrating.
Well, we will definitely be coming to that. And in terms of sort of how technical the route is and what runners can expect, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So it's I should mention that's another thing we look for in race locations. It's trail running for sure, which normally certainly much more than road running involves elevation and hills. But when we look for routes, it's not always part of being accessible. Is we want people who have done loads of these to come and do our events, but more than that, we want people who've never done them before to come and try them out. So other races, we have Sri Lanka, which is a much flatter race, Jordan in the desert, which is flat. So we kind of there's a few dunes. It's flat. And so for other races, it's not necessarily all about looking for big hills. But with Slovenia, this is a race amongst the elites, but also the non-professional athletes. But to make it a real kind of mountain race, it needs a fair amount of elevation. So it does have that. It's just over 10,000 meters over the week. So 10,000 meters elevation gain over 250k. So it's not extremely extraordinary, but it's certainly a hilly race. The stages differ quite a bit. So stage 1, I'd call it the flat stage. It's still not flat. I think there's about 1,100-1,200 meters elevation gain.
Definitely not flat, by the way. Just a heads up.
Flat enough. And then I think 2 to 4, those 3 days all have around 2,500 meters elevation gain, and then the final stage is about 1,500. So it's definitely mountainous. There are some faster sections though. The course, it doesn't reach a huge altitude, which is a good thing, I think. It does add an element of, I suppose, challenge for the runners, but from an organiser's perspective, it's a bit of a dream not to be at those high altitudes. I think it goes up to about, I'm going to get this wrong, but maybe 1,700 metres, 1,700 metres.
We'll hold you to that.
And the terrain is like rocky, technical, not super technical, but rocky terrain.
Love to keep it interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. And I know you've touched on this a little bit, but are there any sections that you can share that runners or potential runners should be particularly aware of?
I don't want to give too much away, but Slovenia has a really rich history. The town it starts in, Ashdovskina, actually was quite a big part of the Roman defence system. And so there's all sorts of Roman forts and things when you the first 2 days are in this Vipava Valley. So for that, I would tell people to imagine it's a very famous wine land area, so there's lots of vineyards. So expect kind of green rolling hills for that first day when it's not rolling hills, it's not super hilly. I'd say there's a section on day 2 where you climb up to Mount Caven. Again, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. But you go up to Mount Caven, which is about 1,600 metres, and from there you can see the Julian Alps in the north, you can see the Dolomites in the west, and you can see the Adriatic Sea to the south. And there's a single track trail that goes past this really famous rock, I'm not going to try and pronounce it, a really famous rock window, which is you probably would have seen on the internet somewhere. And that single track trail is definitely one of the highlights of the route. That's a pretty cool place.
Okay,
but all of it, everything is amazing. The Socha Valley, as I said, is famous for the river, and then the Julian Alps is, it's the Alps, so...
So we're in good company, basically, is what you're trying to say.
You won't be bored if you're not hurting enough to be able to
take a look. Yeah, do top tip, look up, which is definitely something that I struggle to do when I'm running these kind of routes. Not that I've done loads, but I always just look at the ground, and my dad always tells me to look up. So follow Big Clive and look up. And what is it that sets sort of this race apart from other UltraX races? Obviously, it is the World Championships, the pinnacle event, but what in your mind or your words sets it apart?
I'd say the main difference is this is a trail running festival. So yes, it's about the race and the people taking part, and obviously you want to get involved with that, or if you're a spectator to witness it. But it's not just about this race. This is about bringing the foundation for UltraX was about making trail running more accessible. And so it might seem strange then to put on a race between the elites. But actually, we really want to bring this sport kind of out of the dark ages. It's a sport that is trail running is the fastest growing sport at the minute. But it's still got a long way to go. And part of that is professionalising the sport. Actually, if it's one of those where, a bit like Ironman triathlon, if you have to be one of the top 10 or 20 really to be able to make a decent living out of this.
Sure.
And even within that, it's not just about running ability. In this day and age, you have to be marketable, so you have to know how to sell yourself, which is fine, and I don't think we'll ever get rid of that entirely. But part of the way of bringing this sport out of the dark ages is being able to entice the best athletes, and therefore put on prize money, which is something we're doing. It's not just the way you get elite athletes, but it's a good way of then also rewarding. So if other races follow suit and we can have races where people can earn a decent pay packet, it then becomes more enticing for people outside of trail running to say, I'll give this trail running a go. And then you get more elite athletes, which again isn't necessarily the point in terms of accessibility, but when you have these elites to look up to, it grows downwards. So this is a trail running festival. Yes, I personally want to see who's going to win, of course.
Absolutely.
That's a huge part of it. But yeah, this is about celebration of the sport, which is why we have the Race Expo, which is why we are introducing prize money. So a little bit on that. From 2021, all UltraX races will have prize money. So this won't be the first race, but it will have the biggest pay packet, not just of our races, but I think I don't know the figures, but fairly high up there in any ultra running event. So it's £50,000 split kind of between stages. So the male winner and the female winner will both get £10,000. The podium winners get some as well. The overall stage winners each day have a prize pot. This is something else we're introducing for the race. We'll have a mountain stage and a sprint stage. So a little bit like you might see in the Tour de France, you get the polka dot jerseys. We're going to find the best section of the route. It could be short, it could be long, but ideally a long continuous climb. And there'll be a huge marker for where this starts and for where this finishes, timing mats, and whoever can do this section of the route, even if you lose the overall race and you just want to hammer this section of the route, you've got a chance.
Game on.
If you want to sacrifice your overall time, take a half an hour rest at the bottom of this hill and hammer it up there. And so there's prize money for the mountain goat and also for the sprint section winner. So things like that will kind of gamify it a bit more and making it more exciting. But yeah, for me, it's more the fact that this is all about trail running and elevating the sport. And that's
kind of heroing some of the guys that deserve to be, right? And absolutely. Whether that's at elite athlete level or the guys who do just want to give this kind of tough section a go, and as you say, hammer it. We want to make sure that everyone feels that they have kind of been acknowledged and noticed, and not just within the elites but all the way through the sport, which I think is really exciting and definitely something that UltraX tries to do with every single race, as well as the world champs. So the big question, is it just the elites that can race this race, or can anyone get involved?
Absolutely not. So the way we divide it, there's 250 places available for the first edition of the World Championships. And that means there's 100 elite positions and 150 non-elite positions. These guys are still going to be quite good runners because they're qualified through other UltraX races, but they're non-professional, so we say is a better way of putting it. So there's several ways you can qualify. We had qualifying events last year. Unfortunately, the events this year, these have been postponed or cancelled.
A little bit, yeah.
The obvious reason. But we will have more qualifying events for the remainder of this year and also leading up until the World Champs for June next year. So you can qualify at UltraX events without being an elite athlete. We also have a number of charity spots available, which I believe there are still some spots available.
A few spots available.
Apply online. You literally just fill out a form. Again, in line with the accessibility, we don't set a minimum target. We want to raise money for charity and help people to do that, but we don't want to set numbers on people to limit who might be able to do it. So sign up there is your probably best last minute shot to get in there if you don't want to qualify for the other races. But definitely, this is not just for the masses, not just for the elites, it's for the masses. And it's also worth saying that if you don't get a spot running, then you also come and spectate. This is, again, something I should mention which sets the race apart. Other Ultrex races, we don't necessarily have many spectators. It's probably quite difficult in the Wadi Rum Desert to come and stand out and cheer people on. Please do, you can volunteer. But for this race, we're definitely welcoming, the spectatorship will be a huge part of it. So the people who are, if you have friends and family who just want to come and see the elites, you can stay in Asjobskina, which is the race village, and Tolmin. As I said, they have good accommodation options there, and you can really follow the race as it takes place and come and join the expos. So there's loads of ways to get involved.
Or volunteer.
Or volunteer. We're always looking for volunteers. Come out and join us.
We'll be putting some more information on all of that on our stories following this, so you can check it out there. Okay, so we've opened the field up to anyone. So if you are listening and you fancy a chance at the World Championships, then head over to the website and sign up. And for those of you that are sitting on the fence or are signed up already, what 3 tips would you give for runners training for this event?
I would say definitely hills. As I was saying, it's not the most aggressive course in the world in terms of elevation, but yeah, there's significant elevation gain, particularly if you're not used to it. So you've got to get the hill work in, no doubt about it. The second thing I'd say is you might not necessarily be a multi-stage runner. We have people who've never even done a long single stage come and take part in events, and that will be true for the World Champs as well. So I would work on your multi-stage tactics. It's very different when you don't have much time to recover, when you're sleeping in a campsite, to get up and perform at your best the next day. So whether that involves taking part in a smaller multi-stage event, such as an Ultrex 125, might be a good place to warm up. Definitely work on your multi-stage tactic, and elevation, multi-stage, nutrition.
Yeah,
definitely have a nutrition plan. It feels like a cop-out to say that, but no, you definitely want to, again, the multi-stage adds a whole new element. You might have found the perfect gel for a marathon or whatever, but when you're having more of these throughout the day, and you have to recover, you might get home after a marathon and be like, oh, I've got a terrible stomach, but hey, the run runs over, so it doesn't really matter. Well, it's not the same in multi-stage. So you need to find a nutrition plan that actually works for the whole week, not just something that's going to give you a quick burst of energy and get you through the day. So.
It is an eating game, and it is also something that we're working on bringing to life and support you guys. But yeah, definitely an important thing. And just in case we haven't absolutely convinced everyone that this is their 2021 race, what are 2 things you would say to get those still a little bit unsure over the line and under the blue arch?
It's just life-changing. Do it. It will be, all Ultrex events are life-changing, but this is something else. I can guarantee you that, and it's the very first edition as well. We all truly believe that this is going to be the firm fixture in the endurance events kind of, not just running, I'm talking about all endurance events. So you want to be a part of the first edition of that. Whether you support Slovenia, they're the most sustainable country in the world. If you've never been there before, it's stunning. The running around there is awesome, but also the tourism around there is fantastic. So just come and enjoy the atmosphere. It's going to be really cool. We
are all very excited, in case you didn't catch that. I also apologise, my phone just flashed up with a notification, so it may have paused for a second. Okay, this is the final question, and this is the one that we all want to know the answer to. We have an incredible team of elite athletes lined up, ready to run this race. I am talking some of the best in the world. Who are your bets on?
This is such a tough question. Let's go through the women's field first.
Sure.
I'm going to have to get my resources up. There's so many pro runners taking part.
There is a seriously strong lineup.
So I would say, let's go along. So Hilary Allen, she is going to...
Calling me now?
Yeah.
We're really trying to drag this, this lineup out.
Hilary Allen's got to be one of the best mountain climbers in the world, so she's got that in her favour. But then Maggie Guttel, so she won the Backyard Ultra, which is, crazy. It's just a crazy feat of staying awake for that long. So in terms of multi-stage, recovering fast, she's probably got the edge. Ragnar Batts has won MDS, so she's good at multi-stage.
Joel's come in with the bets on the men's. You're going to have to wait for that one. We're still on females.
Ultrex athlete Jackie Bell, again, up-and-coming young runner, but she's probably got the most multi-stage experience. I think she's done a multi-stage in every country. Jackie...
I'm Team Jackie.
Meredith, another Ultrex athlete. She's in very good shape right now.
That was true.
Oh, that's hard. I'm gonna go with Maggie, I think.
Okay, so Maggie for the women's, you heard it here first. And for the men's?
Men's field, top contenders. So obviously Poker Pell won UTMB last year.
Also an Ultra X athlete.
Knows all about us. See, Tom Evans, so he made his name in multi-stage, didn't he, doing the MDS?
Absolutely.
Now switched to single stage, so it'll be interesting to see what he does coming back to multi-stage. Miguel Lara. Okay, so Miguel Lara, the Tarahumara runner from Ultra X Mexico.
And Ian Morgan in the over 50
He's
category?
amazing. Yeah. Also Mike Wardian, another Ultra X athlete. He's a little bit older, sorry Mike, but has ridiculous experience, especially at multi-stage. I don't think anyone runs as much as he does with so little recovery in between.
He also has the personality of a champion. He's the most positive guy ever. So that's got to hold for something, I reckon.
Jason Slav, Ultra X athlete, also came second in Mexico. Interestingly, Jason said in Mexico that Miguel Lara Jason's raced against the best in the world, Killian Jornet, Poker Pell, all of them. Yeah. And he said Miguel Lara was the best he's ever raced against. In the Copper Canyons. He said no one can beat him in the Copper Canyons. So, I don't know. I think it's probably a race between Poker Pell and Miguel Lara. And I don't know who's going to win.
Well,
cast your votes. Fantastic shape.
Cast your votes. There is a seriously strong lineup across men and women, and we're so excited to see that come into play. The race is most definitely on, so definitely let us know if you guys have any thoughts on who you think might come under that final blue arch first, both men and women. So that is kind of our roundup on the World Champs. There is so much to be excited for this event. We are so excited to be there. So excited to have loads of you guys there. If you have any more questions on this, please do put them in the comments below this video and we'll make sure that we get back to you and answer them. But this is a race for everyone, more importantly. So if you haven't yet checked it out, definitely do. And we will catch you back here next week.
Sign up now. You can do it online.
Thanks so much for joining us.
No worries. I'll go over to that side of the desk.
Thanks so much, guys. Have a great day.
Hey, someone.